Good evening and welcome back to another edition of the Beaver Sports Show. I'm Michelle Pighin.
I'm Katie Beasley.
And I'm Hanna Oliver.
This past weekend, the Beavers swept the UCLA Bruins, winning 4-2, 9-3, and 11-2. Tuesday, the Beavers went to Kaiser, Oregon to take on the University of Portland Pilots. Dylan Davis hit his first grand slam in the bottom of the seventh and helped push the Beavers to win an 8-4.
Davis now has 6 home runs on the season and has been put into the #1 spot with 62 RBIs. The Beavers are on a 12-game win streak with a total record of 39-8 and 20-4 in Pac-12 play.
Now to some trouble news for the Beavers. Pat Casey has yet to choose a punishment for pitcher Ben Wetzler, who was arrested Saturday morning after their win over UCLA on Friday, where Wetzler struck out eight batters and only 2 earned runs. He's likely to miss Friday's start against the Huskies here at Goss Stadium.
So Saturday morning, the police found Wetzler at 4:30 in the morning, breaking into a house that he claimed to think was his own, severely intoxicated, and he has been charged with second-degree criminal mischief as well as first-degree trespassing.
Okay, this is very disappointing. It's a little bit funny, but it's pretty disappointing because it kind of just reflects the whole team and the whole program, and it couldn't come at a worse time. Right now, they're on a 12-game winning streak, #2 in the nation, about to be #1, and he's one of their main pitchers. Like, we really need him right now.
And I think it's also a bit disappointing that this isn't his first suspension of the season. Back in February, he was just suspended for 11 games because of breaking the no agent rule. And so if you've already missed 20% of the season and now you're going to be suspended some more, that's probably why it's taken Casey so long to think of a punishment.
I really don't know what he would do, because what he decides to do for his consequences, it kind of reflects of what the program's going to do in the future and what kind of players and athletes we want as a whole for Oregon State University.
Yeah, and having 2 Class A misdemeanors, that doesn't just look bad on him, that reflects the whole team. And as a team player, he needs to have a better image of himself to project to the rest of the Beavers.
Okay, but can we talk about this for a second? Like, what do you think happened? Like, whose house do you think he broke into, and how did this go down?
I mean, if I saw a baseball player breaking my window and thought it was his, I would be a little shocked as well.
If anyone broke into my house, you would get sprayed by some bear mace. That's for sure.
Well, was he using his hand, and did he get cuts everywhere?
He broke the window. I don't know.
I think it's important to also look at this in terms of him being a role model for Oregon State athletics, though.
And it's basically like recruitment. Like, how do we want to do in the future, and how are we going to look later?
Well, I do think it will be interesting to see what Casey decides and if he will be playing this weekend against the Huskies. He did suit up for the remainder of the games last weekend, but yeah, it will be interesting to see about his suspension for this one.
Regardless of what he decides, his first court date is on when we play the regionals.
If we make it to the regionals, it'll be on June 9th, and he won't be able to attend that anyways because of court.
I think it's important for him to make the right decision, because if he doesn't, this kind of just gives leeway to other people to behave badly, and that could really affect our team.
Currently, he hasn't made any comments on what his actions. I would really like to see him come out and say something, maybe like an apology or just something to the student body as a whole, because he represents us as well.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, we will talk about the softball team's final season finale.
Everyone.
And the softball team as they closed out for their season at Stanford this past weekend.
On Thursday, it was a tough loss to the Cardinals, losing 8-2, but this did not discourage the Beavs as they bounced back to win the last 2 games of the season.
The Beavers had a total of 16 hits and collected 12 runs in the process. The softball team had 6 players with 2 hits and more and won the game 12-4.
Danny Gilmore had a great game, collecting 5 RBIs in Game 2. The Beavers scored a run in every inning but the 4th. In the final game, the Beavs kept it going, winning 13-9.
This time it was Kiki Pepe who stepped up, getting 5 RBIs and 4 hits on the day. The Beavers were down 9-5 going into the top of the 5th and had an explosion, earning 8 runs in the process and ending what was a difficult season on a high note. Just to recap on the NFL draft, congratulations to Beavers wide receiver Brandon Cooks going to the Saints and defensive end Scott Crichton to the Vikings.
Also, shout out to senior linebacker Michael Doctor for being on the watch list for the Law Impact Trophy, a prestigious award honoring a defensive player for their character and for having the biggest impact on their team both on and off the field.
We are going to take a break, but when we come back, we talk Blazers season and the rest of the NBA playoffs.
He covered over 5,000. For sports show, now let's talk some NBA playoffs.
First off, we're talking Blazers right now. the happiest guy in the Northwest has to be Paul Allen right now. Not only did he get a Super Bowl this year, but his Blazers made it all the way to the second round of the playoffs. I think he has a lot of potential for next year, and he's going to be selling lots of tickets.
2 championships with 2 teams in 1 year would just be too much. So I think he has a lot to look forward to for next year.
And I think he's sitting pretty with his $15.8 billion. I don't think he has much to worry about.
And also, he has Terry Stotts. He got reassigned to be the coach again, and he's the first coach to actually get us to win a playoff series since 2000.
Yeah. Not only did he get to have a lot of excitement, the Blazers, even though they did lose this series to the Spurs, they did learn a lot, especially about how to play this coming next year, about moving the ball around. They definitely did get beat, though, in this series. What do you think about that?
I think that we need to look more on what's headed for next season. I think that Damian and LaMarcus have shown great strengths this season, and that's really what we can look forward to for next year.
I think that they're going to definitely move the ball around the court. They definitely got beat by the Spurs. They had more mobility. They passed more. They kind of missed all of their shots. I don't know what happened there in the end of the series. It was not like how they were playing against Houston. But speaking of the Spurs, they definitely did take care of business and have a lot to look forward to for the rest of these playoffs. The biggest lesson they learned, especially in this last game, was how to not panic when their star player gets out of the game. In the first 10 minutes, Tony Parker came out with a mystery hamstring injury, and the GM even went with them to go figure out what's going on. But a former Blazer who now plays for the Spurs stepped up as point guard and put in a lot.
So do you think that's beneficial for them to learn how to play without their star player, or the fact that they don't have him anymore can hurt them in the next playoffs?
It shows that they're a very versatile team. They don't have to rely on one person to get them through the series, that they have a lot of star players. Kawhi Leonard had 22 points and 5 steals, and he's just putting the team on his back. Patty Mills stepped it up, even though Tony Parker's a hard person to follow. He's been in the game for a long time, but at the end of the game, Patty Mills was the one with the steal and scored the last 104 to 82, and just ended it on a great note.
And I think, win or lose, the Blazers have a really good fan base, and I think we're all pretty proud of them no matter what the outcome, and we have a lot to look forward to.
So what are you guys' predictions for the championships?
Well, according to Leonard, they're already going to be in the final because he said they want to play whoever the best team is next. So,
I mean, I'm thinking Spurs and Heat personally, but
okay, well, I think it's going to be Heat and the Thunder. I mean, the Thunder have the MVP, Kevin Durant, and I just think that's really going to help them out there. And they have MVP; they might as well have the title too, in my opinion.
I think it's going to be the Spurs. I think Tony Parker is going to come back. They're going to have Leonard score a lot as usual. Patty Mills might make an appearance, but it's probably going to be the Spurs versus, let's be real, LeBron James.
Just LeBron James.
Just him.
Well, the Beavers have a filled week as the men's golf team, David Fink and Alex Franklin, continue to the tournament at the NCAA Regionals.
The men's baseball team takes on the Washington Huskies for their final homestand. The men and women's rowing team heads to the Gold River, California for Pac-12 championships.
And the track and field team for the Pac-12s heads to the Pac-12 championships in Pullman, Washington on Saturday. Once again, I'm Katie Beasley.
I'm Michelle Pighin.
And I'm Hanna Oliver, and I may or may not be wearing pants right now.
Have a good night.
Thank you.